In the summer of 1838, Dickens was approached by what he called a German gentleman called Dr. J.H. Kunsel, who wanted to know more about Dickens's life story, his background, and so on. Dickens was always extremely cautious in recounting the facts of his young life, for obvious reasons. He didn't want the world to know anything about the terrible interlude in his life, which he spent in the blacking warehouse. He didn't want people to know that his father had been incarcerated in the Marshalsea prison for debtors. He certainly didn't want anybody to know about the terrible poverty that the family experienced in some of his early years in London. So he did decide on this occasion to give Dr. Kunsel what might be called the official version of his early life. My dear sir, pray keep the English authors as long as you please. I only wish the collection were a more comprehensive and interesting one. I'm ashamed to confess that in the hurry of many engagements I've quite forgotten your request. That I may forget it no longer, I will tell you all I know at once. I was born in Portsmouth, an English seaport town principally remarkable for mud and sailors, on the 7th of February, 1812. My father, holding in those days a situation under government in the Navy Pay Office, which called him in the discharge of his duty to different places, I came to London, a child of 2 years old, left it again at 6, and then left it again for another seaport town, Chatham, where I remained some 6 or 7 years, and then came back to London with my parents and half a dozen brothers and sisters, whereof I was second in seniority. I had begun an irregular, rambling education under a clergyman at Chatham, and I finished it at a good school in London, tolerably early, for my father was not a rich man, and I had to begin the world. So I began in a lawyer's office, which is a very little world and a very dull one. And leaving it at the expiration of 2 years, devoted myself for some time to the acquirement of such general literature as I could pick up in the library of the British Museum, and to the study of shorthand, with a view to trying what I could do as a reporter, not for the newspapers, but legal authorities in our ecclesiastical courts. I was very successful in this pursuit, was induced to join the Mirror of Parliament, a publication which was at that time devoted solely to the debates, and afterwards to attach myself to the Morning Chronicle, where I remained until the 4 or 5 first numbers of the Pickwick papers had appeared, and in the columns of which journal most of my shorter sketches were originally published. Some few appeared in the old monthly magazine. I may tell you that I was considered very remarkable at the Chronicle for an extraordinary facility in writing and so forth, that I was very liberally paid during my whole connection with the paper, and that when I quitted it, Pickwick was rapidly approaching the zenith of its fame and popularity. The rest of my career up to this time, you know. I may add, for your guidance in any little notes you may throw together of my life and adventures, that I was a great reader as a child, being well versed in most of our English novelists before I was 10 years old, that I wrote tragedies and got other children to act them, that I won prizes at school and great fame, that I am positively assured I was a very clever boy, that I am now married to the eldest daughter of Mr. Hogarth of Edinburgh, a gentleman who has published 2 well-known works on music and was a great friend and companion of Sir Walter Scott's, and that being now in my 27th year, I hope, with God's blessing, to retain my health, spirits, fancy, and perseverance, such as they are, for many years to come. As to my means of observation, they've been pretty extensive. I've been abroad in the world from a mere child, and have lived in London and travelled by fits and starts through a great part of England, a little of Scotland, and less of France, with my eyes open. Heaven send that some kind wind may ere long blow me to Germany. There. I've said more about myself in this one note than I should venture to say elsewhere in 20 years. If you can make anything of such a jumble of matter, and, more than all, interest anybody in it, your ability, my dear sir, will have exalted your subject. Believe me, very truly yours, Charles Dickens. If it be any consolation to the German ladies to know that I have 2 children, pray tell them so.